You're working on the wrong things. If you're watching this, you've probably achieved a decent amount of success, which means you must have some amount of meaning in your work. The amount of meaning you feel in the things you work on is the biggest factor in how much success you have. This applies to your personal life too. So you're doing well, but you probably know that you could also be doing way better. You know other people who are top achievers at the very things you're doing. So why not you? Your values motivate you. They determine how hard you work and what things you're willing to do to succeed that others won't. It's a massive competitive advantage. The amount of meaning you have in anything you work on determines the ceiling for your performance. But we picked careers when we were teenagers, probably from a 1-hour career quiz from the high school counselor. Personally, back then, I barely understood what my values were. But you know a lot better now. You don't have to let that wisdom go to waste. You can and should take advantage of that. Naturally, this sounds risky to change. You actually do have a lot of good reasons for sticking with that path that was decided by you when you were a 17-year-old kid. We expect that any change for more meaning requires major sacrifices. But shifting to more and more meaningful work improves your performance so wildly that more times than you currently realize, it will actually increase your status and income. And it comes with some really powerful side benefits. Changing isn't a sacrifice. It would be a bigger risk not to pursue it. All right, let's get into why the more meaning you have in your work, the more likely you are to be a top performer, a Michael Jordan of your field. Then how that solves the problems that hold most people back from pursuing that work. Now, we all know that people will put in more hours of work on things that matter to them. But on top of that, you get way more work done each hour you put in. Studies show that on average, over 60% of the time you spend working is wasted doing things like looking at your phone, talking to other people, and these things become invisible even to yourself. The more you care about your work, the more this wasted time gets replaced by actual work. So you don't just put more hours in, you get more out of each hour. Next, you have the Rocky effect, endurance. This is what builds Olympians. You know that Rocky 1 wasn't even about winning. It was about not quitting. In all competitions in life, and especially business, the one who wins is usually the one who stays in the game the longest. Everything worth doing has hard periods, down markets, boring days. If you're suffering for no reason, that pain is intolerable. But when it's for a purpose that means something to you, all that pain feels like pride. The more closely your work matches your values, the more it actually raises the bar of what things will consume any of your willpower at all. So when the rough times come, your competitors are already at the end of their rope and get pushed right over the edge. But you arrive fresh and rested with a full tank of willpower to get through that part. Even more powerful, meaning in your work raises your tolerance for getting outside of your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is where mediocrity lives. You will be willing to do the powerful but hard things that others won't. This doesn't just add to your performance like more hard work does, it multiplies it. Now, there's some uncomfortable things that are just simply required to even be a low performer in some jobs. Like a surgeon that can't handle blood won't make it a day. But far worse than these are the uncomfortable things that you can skate by without doing. The ultra high ROI things that you don't have to do, but separate the average performers from the elite ones. For example, a business owner getting just enough customers through word of mouth that they're okay, that they avoid doing cold calls to get more. Or presenting at events in your field. It's one of the most uncomfortable things to do in the world, but it gets you reputation as an expert, which pays off down the road. Interviewing strangers for market research, which refines your product market fit. I bet you're thinking of one right now. in your work. One that you know would raise your performance, but it's not worth it to you to do it even once, much less be doing that day in and day out. The more meaning you have in your work, the more these things won't bother you. And you'll find yourself doing these high ROI tasks that your competitors don't. Finally, the subtle but most powerful of all, working on what you value increases your personal skills, your social magnetism. Most high-level success comes down to people, and people connect over values. When you are taking action right now on the things that are meaningful to you, both professional and personal, it makes you magnetic. People are drawn to you and interested into what you have to say. When I'm at a coffee shop or a bar and someone politely asks me, "What do you do?" If I tell them about my safe day job, I get a polite response and we go back to what we were doing. But if I tell them about working on this channel, their expression perks up. They lean in, asking more questions. And even people around us turn in their seats to start listening in. Most people don't really understand their values that much, but everyone has experienced that thrilling, alive feeling they got when it did happen. And everyone wants to feel that more. When you're acting on your values, the people around you feel a taste of that feeling again, and they want to be around it. This natural magnetism is a massive boost to all of your people skills immediately and without any training. It makes you a better salesman, closing more deals. It makes you better at attracting partners, co-founders, and mentors. And it makes you a better leader. Because of all of this, having the most alignment you can between your values and what you choose to work on significantly makes you a higher performer than others. So why aren't you already working on the most meaningful thing possible? Well, obviously it's not so simple, right? Back when we were picking our careers with a high school counselor, we didn't really have any clear idea what our values were. So we wisely leaned on the guaranteed things, status and money. Your job choice can guarantee those two things. And you can be certain that those things would do a lot of good for you. So, no lie, it was a pretty good call at the time. But now you understand the world better and yourself a whole lot better. And you can see much better what would really be meaningful for you to work on. But naturally, you don't want to have to give up the guarantees that status and money give you when you switch to something else. So, fair enough. But it turns out that actually, because of your increase in performance, way more often than you think, switching to more meaningful work will actually lead to more status and income. So it's really worth investigating to be absolutely sure. As for status, flat out, people always respect winners. You could be the world hot dog eating champion, and at a party, more people would respect you than an average lawyer. And most of our time is spent working. And there, as a high performer, you're surrounded by people who look up and respect you. Best of all, you have the respect from people who understand the topics that matter most to you. Respect from these people hits a lot harder. Now for income, it's really simple. Being great pays way better than being good. Abnormally better. In many fields, the top performers earn 10 to 100 times more than the average worker. The common trivia fact that people like to throw around is that plastic surgeons make, $100,000 to $200,000, while the top ones make tens of millions. The same effect applies to a lot of other careers too, that just aren't famous enough for us to be hearing about it. Some of these might be the meaningful career that's also going to turn you into an achievement beast. Remember, when looking at your options, you're not comparing your salary to the average salary of a meaningful profession. You're comparing it to the top end. Also consider that usually feeling rich is more important than actually being rich. Studies show that over and over, how wealthy a person feels is almost entirely based on how much more they make than other people around them than how much they just earn in total. So again, the Michael Jordan of baking is going to feel more rich than a mediocre investment banker. Now, in case you want to go hardcore and lean really heavy into the most meaningful work possible for you, and that would end up requiring you some sacrifice of money and status, there's still some pretty big side benefits to fill that gap. Status and money were great choices when you didn't know your values very well, because those are guaranteed to benefit anyone, no matter who you turn out to be. But the fact that they're so generic and work for everybody are the very reasons they're also kind of meh. The bonuses you get from working on the things that match your values, the things are specific just to you, which is why they feel really great to you. If you could have all the status and money in the world possible, what would you want to do with it? The status and money are kind of boring by themselves. You really only want them because you can use them to get the things you do want, like the time and resources to start a band, write a novel, travel the world and get really deep into 16th century samurai history. This could be what you get out of working on the things that matter to you, and get it now. Now is better. Waiting 20 years on the things that you love doesn't pay interest. Also, remember how this increases your social magnetism? That doesn't stop just at work. It has a big effect on your personal relationships, which is a great perk. It naturally draws people into your life that are excited about the things that you are excited about. You'll make better friends. And with your existing friends, you might end up doing and talking more about the things that you really love. Every time I lean more into what matters to me, I find more casual acquaintances in my life popping their heads up and saying, "Wait, that's my jam too. I didn't know that you liked that, Ethan." And we find out that we should have been hanging out doing this kind of stuff sooner. It's also obviously very attractive in dating. I've also seen it really make existing relationships stronger than they were before. Everyone loves to be with someone who's excited about what they're doing. And flat out, it just feels good to be good at things. Have you ever watched a dog running and just be jealous of how happy it is to just be good at running? That's how this feels. If you already know exactly where you should be spending your energy, what the most meaningful things for you to work on are on, great. I'd love to hear about what that is and what your experience is. For most people, though, they know a lot more than when they were younger, but it's still just a rough guess. And there's so much reward for every inch of extra alignment you get. So if you want to figure out crystal clear what your unique personal values are and find the work that would satisfy those values the most, in the next video, I'm going to use movies to teach you about the 6 fundamental needs that drive us, which ones drive you specifically, and what kind of work satisfies them. Hope to see you there.